Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Founder of the day will start in only a moment. Hopefully you can sit quietly impatient. Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Founder of the Founder fans, Jason here. Welcome to Founder of the Day Trivia Night. Let me know how you like that new song. I tried it out the other day. It is silly. I will probably only use it for trivia, but why not? We're having fun here. Any hoozle, we are about to play trivia. Thank you for coming. Happy Friday night. As I mentioned recently, we have some changes this week. Most notably, most, if not all of the questions are going to be focused on the discussions I've had over the last week, both here on YouTube with my Founders of the Day and such, and on the website, founderoftheday.com, where I publish articles about these very same topics. So, without further ado, not a lot of announcements this week, not much going on. I will say I have been doing the Federalist paper read-throughs, which not a ton of people have been attending, but that's okay. I want to put them out there. Hopefully they'll help some students in the future. You guys will certainly come along for number 10 and number 51 and the big ones, I assume. That being said, here and away we go. Where is it? Oh man, so many buttons, so many buttons. Okay, there we go. Already at our first question. Start off with hopefully a little bit easy one, since we are going to be discussing Cato the last few and next several Fridays. So this is a good place to start. Who is most likely the author of the Cato Essays? Of course, the Cato Essays are anti-federalist papers written in New York for the people of New York, to the citizens of New York, yada, yada, yada. Troy, since everyone's rolling in slow today, you're the only one here. I'm not going to hold you up too long. Yes, you are right. It is not Bill Clinton. It is George Clinton. I should have quizzed you on which Clinton, though, because George Clinton's nephew, DeWitt Clinton, also becomes a pretty important American founder when it comes to the city and state of New York. And he runs for president, actually, too, against James Madison. All right, move a little bit along here. This one, so you did well. Good job, Troy. That's what we're here for. I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that. Make sure to turn that off. Very interesting that I'm getting that call. Sorry, a little bit distracting. Friend I haven't heard from years decided right at the beginning of trivia is the time to call. So, you see the question on the screen. It's not a question. It's a statement. Name 2 cities that burned during the Revolutionary War. Now, I will tell you, there are a lot of correct answers to this. I will throw most of them on the screen, all the ones I remember. Troy, okay. Again, since you're the only one here, which is a shame because this one's fun, you're not naming any of the ones I wrote about this week, discussed this week, which is fine. I'll pop my answers up here for you, bud. Falmouth, Maine, aka Portland, Falmouth, Massachusetts, aka Portland, Maine, New York City, Norfolk, Virginia, Danbury, Connecticut, also Fairfax, Connecticut, kind of included there. Charleston, you're right, South Carolina. New London, Connecticut. Connecticut had a lot of fires. Marblehead. So I went through my memory and then kind of Googled a little bit to make sure I didn't miss anything. Marblehead is in what state? Because I want to look it up, because you're probably right. There were a lot of fires at the time. In fact, the ones in Charleston, I'm not sure were necessarily American, Revolutionary War related. I don't know a lot about them, but it seems like they might have just kind of been, at least one of them might have just kind of been an accident. Let me know, is Marblehead in Massachusetts, or Marblehead was a mistake? Well, what state is it in? I'd like to know more about it. And we will continue with the questioning as people start rolling in here. Let us know you're here when you get here. We're going to keep going. Portland. Okay. I realized when I was saying the last answer, who led an attack on Falmouth, Maine? Now, it was Falmouth, Massachusetts. Today it's Portland, Maine. So I shouldn't have the ME there, but that's not the point here. Who led an attack, as we discussed this week? Who is the name of the, hint, hint, British naval officer who sought revenge. If you had read the articles or even saw the thumbnail on the video this week, you might remember who it was that took revenge. He had been kidnapped just a few weeks after Lexington and Concord and released, and came back with some more ships and fired on the town and then lit it on fire. And as I mentioned in my video, it leads kind of directly to the creation of the Continental Navy, because suddenly these soldiers were requesting to go back home and help their families, and Ben Franklin and company did not want that to keep happening. So that's one of the main reasons they created the Continental Navy. They did know they would need some power at sea. They were already hiring, what are the names of the ship? Privateers. But this is when they were like, all right, let's make this official. Troy, I guess it's just you today, and you're doing really well. Henry Mowat, or however you pronounce it. Yes, he was the most feared man in Maine at the time. Pretty inarguable. So let's see, we'll do one more, and then we'll bounce over and do some other questions. Washington first occupied the house of Anne Fisher Miller to use as his headquarters for what battle? Anne Fisher Miller was a founding mother we discussed earlier this week. She lost both her husband and her sons in the war, and her house was used as headquarters by several major generals in the Continental Army throughout the war, which is a hint. But she was coming through. Okay, Troy, I guess you're the only one playing. Other people are watching, but you're the only one playing, so I will give it to you. Yes. The Battle of White Plains in lower upstate New York, what people in upstate New York would call downstate, and what people in downstate would consider upstate. It is still a battleground of sorts. As someone who grew up downstate and lives upstate can honestly tell you. So, why don't we pop over and do this, Troy? I think you'll have fun with this. Well, maybe some other people catch up. Maybe not. If I can find it. Nope, that is the wrong button. My face is bright now. Where did we go? There we are. Okay. Here we go to read along. Sorry, now I have so many screens to choose from with all the different events we're doing. This is a little hard to see. What it says is, can you name the names of Revolutionary War battles? Can you name Revolutionary War battles? Now, as I said, I understand it's hard to see. In fact, maybe I can blow it up for us a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit better. All we really need is the dates. There are hints on the side, but that's fine. There's only 8 of them. We have 10 minutes to do 8 names. So we should be pretty good at this. I am going to hit play quiz. As I say, what battle took place on April 19th, 1775? What battle took place on April 19th, 1775? We're looking for major battles of the Revolution. There's also one on May 10th, 1775, one on June 0, 1775. The 0 is it took place over multiple days in June of 75. What battles took place? Okay, Troy with Lexington and Concord. That has to be right. What? Okay, not sure what that is. Did I spell it wrong? And Concord. Oh, you know what I did? I didn't start the game. Oh, yeah, I didn't. What? Concord? Oh, okay. I'm supposed to type Concord, apparently. Bunker Hill is definitely going to be one of them if I spell it right. No. That's not the one in June 75, huh? Battle of Bunker Hill. Okay, I got it right, the whole thing. We figured it out. That one, yeah, took place in June of 1775. There's one, 10th, huh? No, Breed's Hill is technically Bunker Hill. Breed's Hill, no. We also have one in June of 76, the following year. It's an interesting one. There's one in December 25th, 1776, October of 77, and October of 1781. So, Ticonderoga's got to be one of them. Oh, that's the June, okay. Ticonderoga. That's got to be, yeah, May, right, because it happened right after. See, there are some hints over here. Series of American victories on Lake Champlain is the December of 75 one. Might help. Okay, Saratoga's got to be one of them. Yep, 77. And then they give us 4 years of nothing important. Charleston. Is that the... Oh, that's the one from June 76. Right, that makes a lot of sense. Although they have the Battle of Charleston the Americans won. These must all be battles the Americans won. Because I don't see the Siege of Charleston on there either. Yes, Trenton has to be one. December 75. This is a naval battle on Lake Champlain. Should be a little bit of an itsy-bitsy hint there for you. And then October 1781, Troy, I know you're going to get that one for us. I just know it. And I'm waiting patiently. I am a little bit ahead of you. I understand. Some people popping in. We are naming battles of the thing. Yes, it's got to be Valcour Island. Absolutely. If that's how you spell it. Battle of Valcour Island. Troy, you're correct. It is Valcour Island. Lake Champlain. I don't know how they want me to type it. Valcour Island. Yeah, you're right, Troy. We're going to give it to you when it is right. And then right here, 1781. Come on, finish it off. Finish the war for me. Anyone popping in? We're just naming battles of the American Revolutionary War that the Americans won. Big important battles. Trying to come up with another name for the Battle of Valcour Island, because it won't accept it. Costly, where the series of American victories from Lake Champlain ended. Where did they end? Yorktown. Oh, you know what? Are they looking for the fort? Do you know the name of the fort at the battle? The fort that at Valcour Island they engaged, and then Arnold somehow sneaks past the British, and then they race to what fort? That doesn't make sense because we already have Ticonderoga on there. Is it George? Fort William and Mary? No. Fort George. You know what? We're going to call this one because I need to know how it ends. And I know you're right. I'm not going to wait 5 minutes. What does it say? Oh, the Battle of Quebec, where the series of American victories from Lake Champlain ended. Oh. You know what? That makes sense because it wasn't until 1776 that they had already retreated. I should have realized December 75 is when Montgomery gets shot. Okay, well that was fun. Let's pop back over to the questions. Yeah, questions. Okay, that was our last one. Question number the 5th. How did Prince Hall try to improve the station of black people in Boston society? So this question takes place just before the actual warfare breaks out. Anyone popping in, let us know you're here. We're playing trivia. Hang out. Join the fun. Prince Hall. We discussed Prince Hall. I discussed Prince Hall last week. You could tell me what he did to try and improve the station of black people in Boston society. So he actually did a bunch of different things and had a lot of recommendations. Hi, Robert. Thank you for coming. If you have any answers to these questions, you let us know. Most of these questions, Robert, if you're not familiar, are based off of the founders I discussed this week. I put out a video every morning and a corresponding article on my website, founderoftheday.com, every day. And they discuss a different American founder every single day. So the trivia questions are largely based around those. Prince Hall was a free black man living in Boston just before the Revolutionary War. He was also living there after the war. And he did something extraordinarily interesting in an attempt to demonstrate, not even demonstrate, but secure his place as a free person in Boston society. He wanted to raise his stature by joining a certain organization that he had a little bit of trouble getting into because even in the North, they weren't quite ready for that yet. I'm just hanging out here, waiting for it. All right, Troy, killing it today. You have to. You're the only one participating. Robert's here now, though. Yes, Prince Hall, what he did yes, thank you, Robert, absolutely. Prince Hall opened African Lodge number 1, which was a Freemason lodge with the help of some Irishmen who were Freemasons, suppressing Boston at the time with the British, literally a month before the Revolutionary War. Hall does join the Patriots. We don't know if he actively fought, but he did encourage black men to fight. You did? Well, good, Troy. Well, thank you for the watch time. I'm glad you did, because that's what the questions are about. And like I said, the reason I've made the change from random questions on cards I bought to questions about the videos is, like, you know, I'm always learning. Kind of the point of this channel is I'm always trying to learn more about the Revolution and share it with you guys. So we might as well make the questions about the things I learned so that you learn it too, and we're all getting smarter together. Whammy, success. Yes, Prince Hall did, you are right, he did support manumission, not abolition. It's the same thing, but they called it something different at the time. And he also did, he also supported what we would kind of consider the Back to Africa movement at this point, would soon after his time be the American Colonization Society, trying to start colonies of free black people over in Africa, which had flaws for many reasons. Many that seem obvious to us today weren't necessarily at the time, but really a huge person in the fight for equality before abolition was really something most people talked about. Here's a fun one. Name 4 members of Virginia's Lee family. Now, I only made an article/video about one of these people this week. Several of them you know. It's not necessarily all the brothers. It can be any member of Virginia Lee family. I'll give you a hint. I have most of the Revolutionary generation up there, but I also have one of their children. Robert's coming in hot right now. Okay. You chose Light Horse Harry Lee and his son, Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee was the one I was hinting at. He technically does not count as an American founder. He is literally the son of American founder. But I have included him because he is an immediate member of this family and extraordinarily important to American history. That's only 2, Robert. I'm looking for 4. Troy, throw some out. You said you watched the videos. One of the guys. Whole video about one guy. Richard Henry. There it is. Francis. Okay. We got Richard Henry. You know what, Robert? I'm going to give you one more second. See if you throw one more out. There's only 2. For some reason, no one's here this week. Usually there's more people playing. But Robert, I'm going to give you another second. See if you can throw out one more name. It's tough. Especially because Troy covered several of them. You have overlapped on Henry, Light Horse Harry Lee. Let's see. I'm counting down. Throw them in there if you got them, Robert. I'm going to open up my list here. Arthur. Okay. Well, you got 3 of them. You have Arthur. You got the big ones, Robert. You got all of the most famous ones, which is great. Now, if you're new to this channel, then I don't expect you to get Arthur, though I did just write an article about him. Arthur Lee, who was a diplomat for the American Revolutionaries. Richard Henry Lee, the most famous because he was a leader of the family. Troy, you said Thomas. Thomas Ludwell was actually the oldest of the brothers, of the Lee brothers. But he didn't play a giant part in the Revolution. He was kind of overseeing the family at the time and the plantations. So there's Thomas Ludwell, then Richard Henry, and then Francis Lightfoot Lee, another brother who's also signed the Declaration of Independence. There were 2 Lee brothers there. Arthur Lee was a physician and lawyer who acted as a diplomat in Europe. Then there was William Lee, the 5th brother, who also acted as a diplomat in Europe. And then you have their cousins. So you have Charles Lee, not Charles Lee, the Major General in the Continental Army. That Lee was not related to the Lee family of Virginia, despite moving to Virginia. Charles Lee was a cousin who ends up going on to be Attorney General, and he was Attorney General under John Adams. So, very important member of the Lee family, but overshadowed by a different guy with the same name. Then you mentioned Henry Lighthorse Harry Lee, who fought, kind of suppressed the Whiskey Rebellion, was a hero of the Revolutionary War itself, had several positions, ended up not getting on great terms with Washington at the end of his career, although he does give the eulogy for Washington and has that fairly famous line, something by country. How does it go? Oh, what is the line? In the hearts of his countrymen. It ends with "in the hearts of his countrymen." If you remember that, it's a super famous line. I can't believe. First in the hearts of his someone, first in the something something, first in the hearts of his countrymen. It's a famous line where I don't remember, but it's very famous. And then Lighthorse Harry Lee's son, Robert E. Lee, who we all know is very important to the Civil War. I told you this was a fun one. Troy, Arthur was the Horatio Gates of the American purchase logistics. Fair enough. Fair enough. So the next question is actually about Arthur Lee. What American hero's career was ruined by Arthur Lee? So, for those of you who did not see the video this week, I am a little biased against Arthur Lee. He was an important American. He was in London writing pamphlets in London against the Stamp Act and supporting the Stamp Act Congress a decade before the Revolution. He was a patriot. He supported his brothers back home. He was a colleague in London of Ben Franklin. They didn't get along very well. Then Lee ends up being appointed as a diplomat to France. Well, first he's a diplomat to Spain. I think it's Prussia and Spain. I think it's Spain. It might be Portugal. I always get those two mixed up. I know, I'm terrible. Iberia, right? So he's a diplomat there. He ends up going to France and signing the peace treaty with France with Ben Franklin and the answer to this question. But he talks a lot of trash. And despite the answer to this question, coming back home expecting to be greeted as an American hero, because he arrives with the French, literally is brought to America, brought home by the French Navy. On one side is the admiral, I do that every time, the admiral of the French Navy. On the other side of him is the first diplomat to ever recognize the United States of America. And the person who's the answer to this question gets off the boat, is like, I'm a hero, right, guys? And they're like, actually, Arthur's been writing us letters, and we are going to put you on trial. And essentially from there, his career is ruined. The answer to this question, who is an American hero whose name no one seems to remember, although he is one of the most important founders. And I'm going to stop gushing about him. Troy's been here long enough to know how much I love Silas Deane. Silas Deane is one of the most important American, probably the most important American you've never heard of. Without Silas Deane, we don't get the supplies to win the Battle of Saratoga. And it's only after the Battle of Saratoga that Ben Franklin he shows up before Saratoga, but it's because of the Battle of Saratoga that Deane got France to supply that France decides to join our fight, and Ben Franklin gets all the credit despite Deane being the one doing all the heavy lifting. And as I said, at that point, Arthur Lee gets jealous and starts rumors, as I titled my video. So I'm going to stop being angry for a second. Thank you for coming. Let's move on to the next question. Obviously, I'm very attached to Arthur Lee. Okay, in Federalist 6 and 7, what imaginary issue is at the heart of Hamilton's attack? So I have been writing, I've been doing live read-alongs starting a few weeks ago where I just put up the Federalist paper and we read it together. We go line by line, discuss each and every little part to try and unpack the 18th century language and really understand why these founders were promoting the United States Constitution. This week we did Federalist 6 and 7. They're not very well attended, but they are a lot of fun. For me, it's weird, reading them out loud and talking about them, I've learned so much more than I did the dozen or so times I've read them in the past. And in Federalist 6 and 7, Hamilton is on the attack. He's saying this idea is stupid for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason. And that particular idea, the answer to this question, the idea he's attacking, no one's actually promoting. But as I like to mention, the Federalist Papers were propaganda. They were trying to get the American public, specifically the people of New York State, to believe in the Constitution. And he's doing this by the way he attacks kind of an imaginary issue makes it seem that his opponents support that issue, when in truth, no one did. And I'm not seeing answers come in. There's not a lot of people playing today, so I'm going to cut right to the chase. It's disunion. He keeps saying, if we split up into separate states or separate confederacies, then, this is going to go wrong, this is going to go wrong, this is going to go wrong, this is going to go wrong. And the truth is, none of the Anti-Federalists were saying we should all break up. Most of the Anti-Federalists were even saying, yes, we need to fix the problems in the Articles of Confederation. They were just also saying, this is a little too much. And they were also acknowledging where things could go wrong. And if you're new here, you are quickly learning that I do also publish a video about an Anti-Federalist every Friday. And I am a defender of the Anti-Federalists because the Anti-Federalists were, gave us the Bill of Rights, essentially. Robert, state versus state. Yes, he touches on state versus state in both topics. The first handful are written by John Jay, who's saying, the problems with exterior attacks. Okay, sorry. I thought I heard some outside. It's my whiny cat scaring me. They're talking about exterior attacks. Then Hamilton takes over, and he's talking about disunion. He calls it disunion within the states. He does think that petty jealousies will arise, as they do in Europe, because when you're neighbors with someone, you'll attack. That's mostly Federalist 6. And in number 7, he really goes into essentially commerce. Like, if New York is making a whole lot of money and Connecticut and New Jersey are not making so much, they will get jealous of their neighbor. And jealousies arise anger and fear by a populace or a government could lead to war. Additionally, he points out that New York State, if it's its own nation, is going to charge import tariffs. So Connecticut, anyone bringing something in from Connecticut is going to say, please stop at the line, pay your tolls, pay your taxes, and it's going to hurt the neighboring economies that are already not doing as well. So I'm not going to get too off track with it, but that's essentially what we learned this week. Question number 9. Fleury Mesplet printed propaganda for the Continental Congress in what city? So I believe it's pronounced Mesplet. He's a French dude. I might be Mesplet, but my understanding from high school, when I took a little bit of mandatory language, it was French, and E.T., I believe, is pronounced A. So, putting that out there. He was hired by the Continental Congress specifically to print propaganda, and he went to prison for it when the British came through. Troy coming through with an answer, trying to give Robert a second, see if he can think of it. I feel like Robert just discovered this channel, though, so he probably has not watched the videos. The answer is Montreal. Mesplet was a Frenchman who ran a printing press unsuccessfully, went to London to try and print in French, also not successful, met Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin sends him to Philly with a letter to the Continental Congress. Continental Congress says, great, can you print some letters to get Quebec to join the war? And he does, and they don't. But then they actually send him with a printing press to print in French in Canada and try and get him to convince Cades to join the war. They don't. About that time, just about when he arrives, is when the Americans are evacuating Canada. They are, Mesplet, even though the British are there, still prints pro-American propaganda, goes to prison for a month. Then they say, don't do that again, and let him go. And then he does it again. And then they put him in prison for 3 years. And then he gets out and doesn't print anymore. But that's about the time the war is ending anyway. And he starts the Montreal Gazette, which is still in publication today. It's one of the oldest newspapers in Canada. It was an interesting story that he stayed there after the war. Yeah, well, here's the thing. He was one of many French printers in France at the beginning of his life, and that's why it didn't work. He was the only French printer in French Canada. Pretty good business plan. Especially because much of his initial startup costs were paid for by the Continental Congress. Pretty sweet plan. But it is interesting that he stays under British rule, if that's what you're referencing. Okay. Gonna pop up here. Do one more trivia cue. Number 10. This has nothing to do with anything I published this week. In the election of 1796, who came in third place? So, George Washington resigns, John Adams becomes president, and Thomas Jefferson becomes vice president. Who comes in third place? And I'm going to tell you a little secret while you're thinking about it. It was surprisingly close. Like, real close. And I'm not going to elaborate until after we answer the question, because I don't want to give it away too much. Troy, with a very, very good answer. Robert with an even better answer. Because it's correct. Now, Troy, Aaron Burr came in fourth. So, you're on to something. And to be fair, Aaron Burr comes in second in the next election. That's why he gets to be VP. Thomas Pinckney. I actually have the numbers pulled up here, and this is fascinating. I know I got a lot brighter because I had to change the color of the screen. Sorry, I'm gross. John Adams gets 71 electoral votes. At the time, every elector got 2 votes, right? And whoever got the most was president, second most vice president. John Adams got 71. Thomas Jefferson got 68. And Pinckney got 59. Only 9 less than Jefferson, who was only 3 less than Adams. So Burr got 30, which is about half of what Pinckney got. Now, excuse me. Here's the really fascinating part. If everyone who voted for John Adams also voted for Thomas Pinckney, he would have won. Because the thing is, there's a bunch of people here. Oliver Ellsworth of Connecticut stole a few votes. John Jay, I don't want to say stole, especially back then. It wasn't anything like we do it today. But Oliver Ellsworth of Connecticut got a few votes. John Jay, James Iredell, and then there's a few people who got 1 or 2 votes. So a bunch of the people who voted for John Adams, number 1, didn't vote for Pinckney for vice president. That's why Jefferson became vice president. If they all did, plus the other votes Pinckney got because he was from South Carolina, it would have been George Washington, Thomas Pinckney. I think that's fascinating. And I hope you do too. I will also say Thomas Pinckney's brother, Charles, got 1 vote. So they both got votes. 2 brothers got votes in 1796. Additionally, Thomas Pinckney would run as John Adams' vice presidential candidate in 1800 when Jefferson wins, but Alexander Hamilton actually goes around New England trying to convince Federalist electors to vote for Thomas Pinckney instead of Adams. He goes around promoting Pinckney over the party's sitting president, which, I mean, didn't work out for him and actually really hurt John Adams. But the idea was, he's from South Carolina. We can peel off a few more, like, I don't want to say conservative Jefferson voters, but more pro-British Jefferson, or at least moderate, not quite so France Jefferson voters. So, yeah, Troy, good job, Robert. That's absolutely right. This is a lot of fun. Excuse me there. Where was I? Coughed my life up. Oh, and also Thomas Pinckney's brother Charles, after that, runs as the Federalist candidate in 1804 and 1808 against Jefferson and Madison. So, there you go. You have literally in the top 4 people who get votes were Pinckney's in 4 consecutive elections. Troy, no problem having dinner. That about wraps it up tonight. Anyway, I know I've been making a lot of changes to the trivia. We're only going to do the big grand finale once a month now. So that's about it. I'm going to try and add more. I have a few things I haven't quite finished up. You know, I am putting out a video and an article every day and doing all these read-alongs at night. So my time is, you know, and I have like family. Actually, my family's visiting, which inhibited me a little bit. So I will assure you, I am putting together some other kind of, I'm going to hit the timer and see how many signers from New Hampshire we can name of the Constitution and things like that. So that is coming. It's in the works. It's just really time consuming typing in all the names. So it's coming. I promise you. Thank you for watching. Anyone who's new here, Robert, if you're interested, definitely hit subscribe. I put out a short video every morning about a different American founder, sometimes just a happening or event. We also have a Discord channel in the link below. It's kind of like a social media, but it's just for us at Founder of the Day here, which is fun. And just go to the description. You can learn all about the channel. Thank you so much for coming, Robert. Troy, as always, great to see you. I will be back, and next Saturday, I'm considering also doing another live video where we count down something fun. A few weeks ago, I did my top 100 founders for the year, Robert. That's a lot, but I'm probably going to start doing some like top 20 founders from New Hampshire or whatever. So I like to have fun. That's the best way to learn from my perspective. So thank you guys so much for coming. I'm supposed to blow myself up at the end. I forgot. Thank you so much for coming. What a great day we had. And I will be back with another founder for you tomorrow. Oh, wait. I have a sign off. What is it? Peacefield. Peacefield.